Alright, so if you've been watching my video, you know I do a lot of stuff that has never been done before or that a lot of people haven't done. And today I'm doing one of those things. I'm actually bringing Springtails into my reptile room. I don't know if it's a good idea or a bad idea, and if you've ever seen Springtails, essentially what it is, I think Bobby here is really interested in these Springtails. And what these are is they're actually tiny little insects, really super tiny bugs, and they eat mold and fungus. And the thing that really got my attention is they eat the eggs of fungus gnats. Well, at least that's what I've heard on the internet, and you know, a lot of times you can't believe what you hear on the internet. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take these Springtails and I'm going to seed some of my snake tubs with the Springtails and see how that goes. And some people, you know, commented under some of my videos. I was actually considering this in one of my previous videos, and some people said, I don't think the Springtails will actually take off. And then other people said, you know, I've actually done it on coconut husk and they do multiply pretty quick. And probably the biggest disadvantage would be is if I actually seeded my tubs with Springtails and they didn't actually eat the fungus gnat eggs, and then I'd end up with a plague of fungus gnats and an infestation of Springtails, which I hope isn't the case. Hopefully they won't bother the snakes at all. If you've ever seen Springtails, it's almost really microscopic. You can't really see them at all, so I don't know if they'd really get on the snake at all. That'll be kind of interesting. I know some people actually use a combination of Springtails and isopods and some other insects to kind of recycle the dirty soil in some of their bioactive enclosures, which is pretty interesting. And it's kind of part of a kind of a whole cycle of decomposition and reuse with using Springtails. So I thought it'd be kind of interesting. So what I'm going to do is I actually have this lens here for my camera that I really haven't used it very much. This is a Canon lens that'll fit on my camera, and it has a macro setting on it. It's, well, I'd say it's kind of a pseudo macro. It's not a true macro, but I'm hoping we can get an up close view of some of those Springtails so you can kind of see what they look like. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set this up on my camera and see if we can take a look at these Springtails. Alright, so take a look at these guys. These are super tiny. If you notice, they actually jump around. They're actually jumping around just from the breath. From me talking, it's kind of freaking them out, and they're jumping around, and they are so incredibly small. I got manual focus on, if you can actually get in focus and see them. And to give you an idea of size, I actually have a big pen here. Let me show you how big my pen is compared to these Springtails. That is how, they're like the size of the head of my pen, which you can't even hardly get my pen in focus here. It is really, these guys are super tiny. I'm even having a hard time actually finding the, there you go, now you can see my pen. And that is how small they are. They are super tiny. So I don't think you'd actually really see them that much in there. I don't know, if you get quite a few of them together, you can actually see them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I'm going to seed these in some of my enclosures. And the other thing I want to show you is another piece of equipment that I upgraded in this reptile room. So I've actually heard that Springtails like a really high humidity, the higher the better. So what I actually did is I bought a little humidifier. I actually had a big one in here. As a matter of fact, one time I had a huge humidifier that held like 6 or 8 gallons of water, and I set it to a little thing that set it to 60 degrees, and I was going through like 5 gallons a day. It was totally impractical, you know, actually hauling that much water down the stairs. So what I'm actually doing is boosting the humidity with this small one. I'm going through maybe a gallon a day. It is really handy. Take a look at this. So it just has a little thing here that you just turn over and you fill it with water, and then you just pop it right in. It's super easy. It's really sturdy. I've seen, you know, reviews on some of them that are flimsy, some are hard to fill, some are too big, and this one had really good reviews on Amazon. It was only like 40 bucks, and I actually have just been putting it on number 2, and you can hear it kind of makes a little noise, but you can't hear it at all pretty much on the first setting. And then I actually have my air cleaner too. My air cleaner is so loud it drowns this thing out. You can't even tell this thing's running. The funny thing is now I come in here and it feels like it is pretty awesome. It feels like, you know, bathroom right after someone took a shower. It's pretty amazing. And the other cool thing is it's actually humidifying my whole house. It's actually getting underneath the little slot in the door going out there, and my house is a little bit more humid. I think it really helps to have some humidity for these snakes. You know, if I accidentally let one of these guys dry out, then I have humidity from the humidifier. And the other thing is you know, a little bit more humidity for the Springtails. Essentially, that's what I bought it for. So hopefully this thing will actually boost it enough to where these Springtails will be okay. Alright, so this is kind of my setup here. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to try this. I'm not even sure if this is going to work, so I'm just going to go through my tubs. And I just replaced all the substrate so it has a good deal of humidity down here in it. What I want to do is I'm going to add just a little bit more with my pump up sprayer. Keep it nice and humid for the Springtails. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move these Springtails in here, because I know they kind of like to jump around all over the place. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take one of these tiny little pieces of, it's like charcoal, I guess. It's interesting that this one doesn't seem to have any on it. Some of them have a lot, and some of them, it seems like they all jump off when I pick them up. And the funny thing is if you can see over here, they're kind of in the water, which is, I can't believe they have so much water in with these Springtails. So I'll probably just dump a little water. I can see a bunch right there. They actually came out with the water. You can see them kind of hopping all over. I don't know if you can see them with this lens. Maybe you can a little bit better. They are really super, super tiny. But I think they'll be okay in the substrate. You can actually see them right there. Tiny, tiny little critters. So what I'm going to do is, I guess I'm just going to go through, maybe dump a little bit of water in each tub, and then mark the tubs. I don't know, I don't think this is enough Springtails to actually do my whole substrate through my whole collection. But I'll probably just mark some tubs and see how it goes. Alright, so I just went through this whole rack here. These are all my males and some of my holdbacks from last year, and a few females, and I actually went through and put Springtails in all these tubs. And so I don't have enough for my whole rack here. I just have a little bit left. What I was doing is I was just putting a little bit of the carbon. I started just doing the water, and then I started doing just a little bit of the carbon. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to put it down here with my reticulated python. We'll see how Sunny is faring down here. So I actually put him down here a couple days ago. And I was tired of chasing the paper. This actually it looks like it has a lot of humidity in it. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm actually just going to kind of empty this out right over here. And I might just use the rest of it here. And he looks pretty happy on this coconut. Let me tell you, when he was on paper, he definitely was not this happy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of spray it out a little bit with the sprayer. And just kind of get the rest out of here. And hopefully that will seed this with Springtails. It'll be kind of interesting to see if this actually works. What would actually be really cool is if this actually worked so well that I wouldn't have to change my substrate like for a long time, because this, you know, it cost me, go through all these tubs and actually replacing all the substrate, I say it cost me, you know, between $80 to $100 probably to actually change it all out. So if I can actually not change it for, you know, 2 or 3 months, or maybe even 6 months at a time, that would be really awesome. And this guy he has been really on food, really pounding the rats, and now it looks like he's kind of taking a break, and Lucy's kind of taking a break too. So it's weird they kind of go through this feeding cycle together. and then they'll both shed at the same time, and then I pair them up and they pretty much breed at the same time. It's interesting. They're pretty much on the same schedule. All right, so that is bringing Springtails down in my reptile room, and hopefully I won't actually regret bringing them down in here. I've actually seen some people say that they put them in their tubs and they had a population explosion of Springtails. It'll be interesting to see if I run into that problem or if I can keep them in balance. I'm thinking maybe if they get really out of control, maybe I can get another insect that eats Springtails, or maybe something that'll actually balance the population. It'll be pretty interesting to see how this bioactive snake setup kind of goes. And if you've been watching my snake channel pretty much from the beginning, and this channel actually started here on YouTube as my animal adventure channel. And what I'm gonna do is every time I have an animal adventure that's not snake related, I wanna throw it in on the end of a snake video. So what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna transition from snakes to another animal, which will be pretty interesting. And I actually started out, at the very beginning, I was thinking of doing elephants. Believe it or not, I just love elephants, but the problem is with elephants, you need a really special facility. You need fencing that I really can't afford. You need some massive fencing, and there's a lot of rules and regulations. So instead of elephants, I went with the next best thing. And these animals, I actually have two of them that are over 2,500 pounds a piece. These are massive animals. I would say on par with a mini elephant. It's probably the best thing you can get without getting actual elephants, which is pretty interesting. And actually one of them is about to have a baby, so I thought I'd bring you along for the ride, show you those monster elephants, and I'm pretty much going to close the episode here from my snakes. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. All right, so this is kind of crazy. I'm out here with these bulls. One bull snuck up behind me, and actually what I was doing is I was cutting some nails with my clipper in the dark with the bull laying down. Cut some toenails off of this bull. That worked pretty good. That's the first time T-Bone actually let me cut his nails. I've been trying to sneak up every night. This is the first night he's actually let me cut, but I have something else going on over here. Something more exciting than bull nail cutting. And that is, I have one girl left. I sold all my other girl cows, all my other heifers. This is a first calf heifer about to have her first baby. And usually they have babies in the middle of the night. And I think she might have this girl tonight. She's really dilated back here by her tail, and she is pushing. I think it is going to come out. But her water hasn't broke, and I thought for sure she was going to have the baby a few days ago. So not exactly sure if it's going to come out tonight or not, but it looks like she is pushing. She kind of ran out of water in the day. She kind of runs out at the end because I've been putting them in these little buckets over here. And I went back and I filled them up this afternoon, and she didn't drink. And then I tried to give her some water while she's laying down. She didn't drink. So since she's not drinking, I'm thinking this baby is going to come tonight in the dark at night. That's going to be pretty crazy. All right, so I woke up this morning to a new baby cow. Let's take a look at this one. Actually put some iodine on the navel and put a tag in. This is number 11. Oh, look at mama, look at the baby. Oh my goodness, huh? Oh, look at that cute little face. Oh my goodness. That is a cute cow. Oh my goodness, huh? Oh my goodness. That's pretty awesome.